This week, the government did something that has never happened in modern presidential history. Get this, the sitting president of the United States had his personal stock portfolio made public. We're talking over 3,600 individual trades, between 220 and $750 million in transactions in a single quarter. And I went through every single publicly traded stock in that portfolio and I graded them. Not based on politics, based on the same 5-category framework I use to evaluate any investment. Today, I'm gonna walk you through 4 categories of grades. The stocks that doubled his money, the ones with the most serious conflicts of interest, the ones that are actually worth buying right now as an everyday investor, and the ones I would stay away from completely. And at the end of this video, I'm going to tell you the 3 specific stocks from his portfolio that I personally would buy right now. Stay with me. This one's going to be worth your time. Now, before we get into the grades, I need to give you 2 things so this video actually makes sense. First, I want to tell you how this disclosure works. So the government does not require the president to disclose the exact dollar amounts. See, they only require broad ranges. So when I say Trump bought between $1 million and $5 million of Nvidia, that is the actual language of the official filing. So that's not me being vague. That's exactly how the government reports it. Second, let me tell you exactly how I graded these stocks so you understand what we're looking at. All right, so this is what we're doing. I used 5 categories, each one graded A through F. So category 1 is growth potential. Is this company's revenue growing at 15% or more year over year? What does the earnings trajectory look like? Is it in a sector that is expanding? That's category 1. Category 2, this is what I call the Trump bump factor. I'm answering the question, does this company directly benefit from the Trump administrative policy, his executive orders, government contracts, or public endorsements? This category is unique to this video and it tells a story you need to hear. So category 3 is the current valuation. This answers the question, is the stock fairly priced right now? So I'm going to use PEG ratio. I'm going to look at their gross margins, their historical price to earnings to answer that question. So category 4 is profit status. So based on when the disclosed purchase price took place versus where the stock is trading today, is it possible that Trump is already sitting on gains? All right, then category 5 is the everyday investor relevance. Can a teacher, can an electrician, a small business owner, a stylist, can you actually build a position in this stock today? Is the entry point accessible? Is the story simple enough for beginner investors to understand? So to make this video easier to follow, because we're talking about a lot of stocks, all right, I've put these companies into segments. Let me tell you what the segments are. Okay, so segment 1, this is the 100% club. These are the stocks where Trump is reportedly up over 100%. Since he bought them. We're going to look at each one and answer the question you actually care about. Is it too late to buy? The segment 2, this is the conflict of interest flag. These are stocks where the paper trail between his policy decisions and his personal investment gains, it's the clearest. No political agenda here, just facts that every investor needs to understand. Then there's segment 3. This is the everyday investor A grades. These are the names that my audience can actually act on right now. And then segment 4, these are the low grades. So every company here isn't perfect for all investors. Because I'm not just going to tell you what to buy, I'm going to tell you what you may want to stay away from as an everyday investor and explain why. Y'all, I graded all 35 publicly traded stocks in his portfolio. The full grading sheet is in the description right now, so go grab it. Okay, click that link. You can see the full list of graded stocks. Let's talk about segment 1. This is the 100% profit club. So let me start with something that's going to get your attention. The president of the United States is reportedly sitting on over 100% gains on multiple stocks that he bought this year. Not 10%, not 20%. We're talking about stocks that have doubled or more. Now, here's the question I want to answer for each one of you. Is it too late for you to get in? Let's talk about the companies. All right, first, AMD. AMD makes the processors and graphics chips that power artificial intelligence computing, gaming, and data centers. So for growth potential, I give them an A-. They're growing revenue at a rate that clears my 15% threshold, and the AI chip demand cycle has years of runway ahead of it. Next, the Trump bump factor. I give them an A. The administration cleared AMD to export chips to China the week before Trump bought the stock, okay? That policy decision directly expanded their market, all right? The current valuation, I give them a C+. This is where I pump the brakes a little bit. After 100% run, the valuation is pretty stretched. The PEG ratio is no longer as attractive as it was at the point of purchase. Next, profit status. I give them an A+. Trump is up over 100%. The timing around the China chip export approval makes this one the most notable of the trades in the entire disclosure. In terms of everyday investor relevance, I give it a B. AMD is a recognizable name with a compelling AI story. It is accessible for informed beginners, but it requires understanding the competitive landscape against NVIDIA. The overall grade for AMD, I give it an A-. The next stock is Intel. What they do is they're the largest domestic semiconductor manufacturer. They make processors used in computers. They're used in data centers and AI systems. In terms of growth potential, I give them a B. Intel it's in the middle of a genuine turnaround, okay? But it is not yet a high growth compounder based on my criteria. The revenue recovery is happening, but it's not quite clean. The Trump bump factor gets an A+. I'm going to give you the full story on this in segment 2, but the conflict of interest angle here is the most significant in the entire portfolio. Current valuation, I give it a B-. After 140% run year to date, Intel's not cheap, but the domestic chip manufacturer thesis gives it a floor that a typical turnaround story would not have. Profit status, I give them an A+. It's up 140% year to date since Trump's purchases began in early March. Everyday investor relevance, I give it a B. Intel is a household name. Most beginners understand what a processor is. The turnaround story is more complex, but the brand recognition helps. Overall grade, I give them a B. Next up, Marvel Technology. Marvel designs custom silicone chips specifically built for AI data centers with major contracts with companies like Amazon, Google, and Microsoft. So in terms of their growth potential, I give them an A-. Custom AI silicone, it's one of the fastest growing categories in semiconductors right now. Marvel's data center revenue, it's accelerating. It is taking off. So for the Trump bump factor, I give them a B. So they benefit from the broader domestic semiconductor push, but there's no single direct policy or event in the same way that maybe like Intel or AMD has. Current valuation, I give them a B-. Now, it's premium priced after the run, but the growth rate actually supports the multiple for patient investors. Profit status, I give them an A+. Trump is up over 100%. Marvel has been one of the quiet outperformers in this disclosure. Now, in terms of everyday investor relevance, I give it a C+. This isn't a household name. As a matter of fact, when you heard Marvel, you probably thought that it was related to some superheroes. That's a different Marvel, okay? There's no consumer product that this audience is gonna recognize. So this is a watch list stock for beginners. This isn't a first position, which basically means you can keep an eye on this to add it to your portfolio, but you probably wanna start with some other names for the foundation of your portfolio. Overall grade, I give Marvel a B+. Next up, Bloom Energy. So Bloom makes on-site fuel cell systems that generate clean electricity. Here's the thing, this industry has been growing rapidly as AI data centers have huge demand for more power. All right, so their growth potential, I give them a B plus. All right, AI data centers need enormous amounts of power. On-site generation is becoming a critical infrastructure solution. Okay, the addressable market is expanding fast. Next, the Trump bump factor, A minus. So the administration's focus on domestic energy production and data center infrastructure, it creates a favorable policy environment for Bloom's technology. So this is going to work in their favor. Now, the current valuation, I give it a B minus. The stock has run hard already. You're going to be paying a premium for a growth story that's still proving itself. Okay, so you want to keep that in mind. Profit status, A plus. Trump is up over 100%. This has been a standout performer in the energy portion of the portfolio. Next, the Everyday Investor Relevance, I give it a C. Fuel cell technology, that requires explanation. It's not intuitive for most everyday investors. Also, it has a higher risk profile than some of the mega cap names that we're going to talk about in this video. So overall, I give Bloom Energy a B. All right, next, Seagate Technology. Seagate makes hard drives and data storage systems. They're benefiting from the explosion of data generated by AI workloads. All right, so their growth potential, I give them a B minus. AI is driving real demand for data storage, but Seagate is in a maturing hardware category and the growth rate does not quite clear my 15% threshold consistently. We may consider making an exception here because their growth is recent, so they don't quite have 3 years of consecutive growth at 15% or more in terms of their revenue. From the Trump bump factor consideration, I give them a B. They do benefit from broader tech and data infrastructure, but there's no direct policy catalyst tied to this administration. Current valuation, I give them a B plus. It has a reasonable valuation relative to earnings. It's one of the more fairly priced stocks in the 100% club. Profit status, A plus. Trump is up over 100%. Strong momentum on this particular trade. Then Everyday Investor Relevance, I give it a B minus. Most people understand what a hard drive is, but the fundamental screening on Seagate raises a flag, and I have to be transparent about that. So overall, I give Seagate a B. Next up, SanDisk. SanDisk makes flash memory storage products and was recently spun off from Western Digital as a newly independent public company. Growth potential, B minus. Flash storage demand is growing with AI, but SanDisk is still early in its life as a standalone company with a limited track record to analyze. Again, we may have to make an exception here. Trump bump factor, B. No direct policy catalyst, but they benefit from the general semiconductor and data infrastructure environment. Current valuation, give them a B. Reasonable, but the limited history as an independent company makes valuation less certain than its established peers. Profit status, A plus. Trump is up over 100%. The stock is going crazy. Easy to understand why it gets an A plus in regards to profit status. Everyday Investor Relevance, I give it a C. Most people recognize the SanDisk brand from USB drives and memory cards, but the investment story is still developing post spin-off. Overall grade, I give it a B minus. Here's what I want you to take away from this segment. Being up 100% does not automatically mean you should chase it. Every one of these stocks needs a clean entry point and a thesis that holds up on its own merits. That means you got to have a reason why you're investing in it based on the company itself and not based on the returns that somebody else has received. That is what the grading sheet is for. So again, remember, the link to get the full grading sheet is in the description of the video. Now, let's talk about the conflict of interest segment. So I want to be clear about what this segment is and what is not. This isn't political commentary. I don't do that, okay? I do not care which side of the aisle you are on. That is not what this channel is about. What this is about is something every investor needs to understand. The president of the United States is legally allowed to trade individual stocks and companies his own administration regulates, funds, endorses, and awards contracts to. Those are the facts. I'm going to show you 3 specific examples where the paper trail between policy decisions and personal investment gains is the clearest in this entire disclosure. I'm going to let you draw your own conclusions. I'm not going to do it for you. Number 1, let's talk about Intel. This is crazy. So Intel is America's largest domestic chip maker, central to the U.S. push to rebuild semiconductor manufacturing on American soil. Growth potential, B. Turnaround in progress, not a high growth compounder yet, but the domestic manufacturing thesis, it creates a unique fundamental floor, okay? Trump bump factor, it gets the biggest A+ on this entire list, okay? The US government literally acquired about 10% equity stake in Intel in late 2025. Trump's administration made that investment decision. Trump then personally began buying the stock in early March of 2026. Several purchases were flagged in the filing as unsolicited. Intel is up approximately 140% year to date. The current valuation, I give them a B-. It's elevated after the run, but the government backstory creates an unusual pricing dynamic. Pricing status, I give it an A+, up roughly 100% since Trump began buying it. In terms of the everyday investor relevance, I give it a B. Intel, it's a household name. The story is accessible, even if the turnaround details are complex. Overall grade, I give it a C+, y'all. Y'all gonna be like, well, Courtney, these scores don't add up. Like, yeah, I really need to have a reason to believe in a company on its own, not based on the influence around it. So C+ for Intel. Next up, Dell Technologies. So Dell makes personal computers, enterprise servers, and IT infrastructure used by businesses and governments worldwide. Growth potential, I give them a B, okay? AI server demand is genuine. That tailwind for that space is good for Dell's enterprise business. The company is benefiting from the build out of AI infrastructure at scale. Next, the Trump bump factor. All right, y'all not gonna believe this. So Trump purchased somewhere between $1 million to $5 million of Dell stock on February 10th, 2026. In early May 2026, Trump publicly endorsed Dell hardware at a White House event. Dell stock hit an all-time high following that endorsement. The purchase came February 10th, the endorsement came in May, the all-time high came right after. You draw your own conclusions. Current valuation, I give them a B. It's reasonably priced relative to the AI server story. Profit status, B+, up meaningfully since February purchase, all right, particularly following the May endorsement. Everyday investor relevance, I give it a B. We've known the Dell brand for most of a generation. The AI server angle requires some explanation, but the consumer familiarity helps. Overall, I give it a grade of a B. Next up in this category is Palantir. Palantir builds AI-powered data analytics software that's used by the U.S. military, federal agencies, and intelligence organizations. Growth potential. A, government AI spending is accelerating and Palantir is the infrastructure layer underneath. The revenue growth is strong and the contract pipeline is growing. The Trump bump factor, they get an A+. Trump bought at least $260,000 in Palantir stock during Q1 2026. During that same time, Palantir secured a contract surpassing $1 billion with the Department of Homeland Security and a separate contract surpassing $1 billion with the Pentagon. The administration controls federal spending is Palantir's primary revenue driver. The president holds Palantir stock, all right? He influences it. He has influence over it. The current valuation, I give it a B-. Palantir trades at a significant premium by traditional metrics. The PEG ratio is high as crap. You are paying for the growth story and the government contract pipeline. That's why you're paying a premium for it if you want to do that. Profit status, I give it an A plus. It's up substantially since Trump's Q1 purchase. It is one of the strongest performers in the conflict of interest category. Everyday Investor Relevance, I give it a C plus. The AI government data story, it's compelling, but abstract for a beginner. The share price requires some explanation as to why it's so expensive, but in terms of an overall grade for this company, I give it an A minus. Here's what I want you to take away from this segment as an investor. Policy creates price movement. Understanding who holds what and why is part of your research. This information is public. This information and what's happening, it is legal. And it is exactly the kind of context that separates informed investors from people who just buy because a stock looks popular. Okay, the next segment is the everyday investor grades. All right, now look, we done covered all the drama. Okay, so now let me be a voice of reason for a moment. So these are the stocks from Trump's portfolio that score highest on Everyday Investor Relevance. The names that a teacher, an electrician, a stylist, a small business owner can actually understand. They can buy them and build a position over time. First, NVIDIA. NVIDIA makes graphics processing units, or what's known as GPUs. These have become the essential hardware for training and running artificial intelligence systems. Growth potential, A. Revenues through the roof. Gross margins are insane. The AI computing infrastructure build is a multi-decade trend, and NVIDIA is the dominant supplier of the hardware that makes it work. Okay, Trump bump factor, A. The administrator's domestic chip manufacturing push and the broader AI investment environment under this administration are direct tailwinds. They're making the stock price go higher. Trump bought somewhere between 1.8 million and $6 million across multiple transactions. Current valuation, I give it a B plus. NVIDIA is not a cheap stock, but when you run the PEG ratio against the actual earnings growth rate, the premium is justifiable. You are paying for quality and dominance. Profit status, A. Trump is up significantly on those purchases. NVIDIA has become one of the strongest performers in the mega cap tech space, okay? Everyday Investor Relevance, I'm going to give it a B plus. So you've probably heard of NVIDIA before because they're the most valuable company in the world. You probably just don't know what they really do, okay? Because you're not a tech person probably. The AI story is mainstream now, okay? And most beginners can grasp that. The dollar cost averaging approach makes the entry accessible even at a premium price. Overall, I give NVIDIA an A. Next, Microsoft. So Microsoft makes Windows, Office, the Azure cloud platform. All of that has become one of the most important AI companies in the world through its partnership with OpenAI, even though that partnership recently ended, depending on when you're seeing this video. Growth potential, A minus. Azure cloud revenue is growing double digits. The Copilot AI integration across the entire Office 365 suite is a monetization lever that most investors are still underestimating. Revenue growth clears my threshold, okay? Trump bump factor, I give it a B plus. Microsoft benefits from the broader AI investment environment and has key government and cloud contracts. They're not a direct single event Trump bump, but consistent policy tailwinds help them out. Current valuation, I actually give them a B plus. Microsoft is very well valued right now with its growth rate. It's not a cheap stock, but it's not overextended either, which makes it a lot different from many of the other stocks that we're talking about on this list. It's one of the more balanced valuations in mega cap tech. Profit status, I give them a B. Trump sold a large block at a higher price and maintained exposure through smaller purchases. His net position reflects a disciplined trim, not necessarily an exit. But I will say that we hadn't talked about Trump selling any of the other names on this list. So keep that in mind. Everyday Investor Relevance is probably the best of any company on the list. I'm going to give them an A. This is the most accessible AI stock on the entire list for a beginner. You guys probably use Microsoft products every single day. This story requires no translation or no explanation. Overall grade, I give them an A minus. Next stock in the portfolio is Amazon. Amazon runs the world's largest e-commerce platform and operates AWS, which is the leading cloud computing infrastructure provider for businesses globally. Growth potential, A minus. AWS is growing rapidly and AI cloud spending is accelerating across the board. Amazon's advertising business is also being a significant earnings contributor. Trump bump factor, I give them a B. AWS has substantial government cloud contracts, but it's not a primary conflict of interest flag, but a quiet policy beneficiary. Current valuation, I give it a B plus. Amazon is more reasonably valued than some of its mega cap peers when you factor in AWS growth and the advertising business. It's one of the better valuations in the big tech space right now. Profit status, I give them a B. Same pattern as Microsoft. Large blocks sold, smaller positions maintained, disciplined trimming at elevated prices. Everyday investor relevance, A. Okay, we know Amazon. We shop there maybe every day if you like my household. Okay, you understand the brand without explanation. Because of this familiarity, it gives Amazon an edge when it comes to holding through volatility over some of these other names. Overall grade, I give Amazon a B plus. Next up, Bank of America, one of the largest banks in the United States. They provide personal banking, mortgages, investment accounts, and business loans. Growth potential, I give them a B. Deregulation under this administration creates more capital flexibility and lending capacity for large banks. Not a hyper growth story, but a steady earnings grower. The Trump bump factor, B plus. This administration's deregulation agenda is very well documented, and it's actually going to be a direct tailwind for large bank profitability. This is one of the clearer policy to earnings connections in the financial sector. Current valuation, I give them a B plus. Bank of America is one of the more fairly valued names on the list. It's accessible share price with a dividend. Profit status, B. Trump is up meaningfully since his purchases in Q1. Everyday investor relevance, I give it an A. We all know Bank of America. We see them in our neighborhoods. Many of you bank there. Okay, the story is simple. The entry point is accessible. The dividend adds additional income to your portfolio. Overall grade, I give Bank of America a B plus. Now let's go to segment 4. Let's talk about the stocks that got low grades. These are stocks that may make sense for you to avoid. This might be the most important segment in the entire video because I'm going to tell you what not to buy. Anyone can tell you what to buy, but not everyone is going to tell you what to watch out for. That's what we're going to do in this segment. I'm going to tell you to be careful. And the first one we're going to talk about is Boeing. Boeing designs and manufactures commercial airplanes and military aircraft, and they're working to rebuild their reputation following that whole 737 MAX safety issues. Y'all remember that? There's a Netflix special about it. Growth potential, B minus. Defense contracts under this administration are a real positive for the company. But Boeing's commercial aviation recovery is slower than analysts have repeatedly projected. Revenue growth is inconsistent. The Trump bump factor is a B plus. Defense spending is a genuine tailwind, and Boeing has significant military contracts. That is the bright spot for the grade. The current valuation, I give it a C. The stock does not reflect the clean recovery story. You are paying for potential that has not yet materialized in the numbers. Profit status, I give it a C. Boeing has not been one of the standout performers in this disclosure. The gains are modest relative to the risk you're taking on. Everyday investor relevance, I give it a B. Everyone knows what Boeing is, you know what they do, but knowing the brand is not the same as having a clean investment idea for the company. Overall grade, I give Boeing a C. The next company that raises some red flags is Iridium Communications. They operate a global network of low orbit satellites providing voice and data services to governments, militaries, and remote industries. Growth potential, B. Satellite communications for defense and government is a real growth market, but the rate of growth is modest compared to what you see a core holding. Trump bump factor B plus because of government and defense communication contracts. They directly benefit the company. The current valuation, I give them a B. Reasonably valued, but the growth rate does not justify a premium. Profit status, A plus. Trump is up over 100%, is working in his portfolio. Everyday investor relevance, I give it a F. Okay, you probably can't even pronounce the name of the company. Better yet, know what they do. Most people watching this video, you've never heard of Iridium. There's no consumer story, no simple anchor. This is a deeply niche government and defense play. Overall grade, I give it a C plus. Next in the stocks to watch out for in a negative way, Vishay Intertechnology. Vishay manufactures resistors, capacitors, and sensors that are components found inside electronic devices and industrial equipment. Growth potential, C plus. Electronic components is a mature, slow growth industrial category. The AI tailwind is indirect at best. The Trump bump factor, C plus. No significant direct policy connection to this administration's priorities. Current valuation, B plus. Inexpensive relative to earnings, one of the better value grades on the sheet, but cheap alone is not a reason to buy. Profit status, A plus. Trump has more than doubled his money, one of the most surprising outperformers in the entire disclosure. Everyday investor relevance, I'm gonna give it an F. Resistors, sensors, the name of the company. Okay, you probably don't know what any of those things are and why they even matter. Overall grade, I'm gonna give it a C plus. Look, y'all, my job is to give you the framework so you're never flying blind when it comes to investing. That's what my free investing class is for. Now, the link to register for my free class is in the description of this video. If you've not participated yet, you need to make sure you reserve your seat. You'll thank yourself in the future. Now, let's talk about our last category, the 3 stocks that I would actually buy. I told you at the top of this video, I would tell you exactly which stock from Trump's portfolio I would personally buy right now. It's not the conflict of interest picks. It's not the ones chasing momentum. It's the ones that pass my fundamental criteria. It's the ones that have real growth. And it's the ones that make sense for my long-term portfolio. Here are my 3. Number 1, NVIDIA. NVIDIA makes GPUs. These are the essential engines behind artificial intelligence. Growth potential, A. Revenue well above 15% growth per year. Gross margins well above 45%. It's an AI infrastructure build. It's a decade-long trend. Trump bump factor, A. Domestic chip manufacturing policy and AI investment environment are both direct tailwinds. You're gonna pay a premium for NVIDIA, but the future growth rate make it justifiable, giving a number of different factors that matter. Current valuation, I give it a B plus. You're gonna pay a premium for NVIDIA, but the PEG ratio is justifiable, giving the earnings growth rate. Profit status, A. Trump is meaningfully up on his NVIDIA purchases. Everyday investor relevance, I'm gonna give it a B plus. It's mainstream enough for informed beginners. Dollar cost averaging makes the entry accessible. I give it an overall grade of an A. The next company that I would invest in is Broadcom. They design custom semiconductor chips for AI data centers, and they have major contracts with Apple, Google, Meta to help build their own proprietary AI chips. Growth potential, A. Custom AI silicon for hyperscalers is one of the fastest growing categories in semiconductors. The Trump bump factor, A minus. Domestic chip manufacturing policy and AI infrastructure investment are both tailwinds. Strong policy alignment without a single direct conflict of interest event, right? Current valuation, I give them a B. When I run Broadcom through my PEG ratio analysis, the growth adjusted valuation is one of the most attractive on the entire list. You are getting a lot of growth for the price. Profit status, A. Trump bought between $1 and $5 million, up meaningfully since his purchase. Everyday investor relevance, I give it a B plus. The Broadcom name is less familiar to beginners, but the story of custom AI chips for the biggest biggest companies in the world, make it one of the clearest AI investment thesis available. Grade A minus. Next company I would invest in, Palantir. This is the one I told you earlier. They build AI-powered analytics software that's primarily used by military, federal agencies, and intelligence organizations. They use this data to process and act on large amounts of information. So to go over my rankings again, growth potential A, Trump bump factor A plus, current valuation B minus, PEG ratio is elevated, so you're gonna pay a premium, but we expect it to grow a lot. Profit status A plus, everyday investor relevance C, just because most people hadn't heard of it before. But overall, I give Palantir an A minus. That's my report card on the Trump portfolio. 35 stocks graded, 4 categories covered, 3 personal picks on the table. If you want the full grading sheet with all 35 stocks and every grade across 5 categories, the link to the document, it's in the description of the video. And if you're watching this and you want to learn how to apply this kind of analysis to your own portfolio, to find your own stocks, to build something that actually works for your life, my free beginners investing class is where you need to be. The link to reserve your seat is in the description of this video. That's where you need to start. Look, y'all, be sure to like this video, share it with somebody that you love, and I'll see you in the next one.